Okay, good luck everyone. Hope you had a great Shabbos. Shiur number 3. We're going to work on the din of Maris Ayin. And what exactly is Maris Ayin? I'm sure you've heard of, it's cases where actions or food are inherently permissible, but are not always discernible by the public. For example, we'll quote the Gemara in a minute in Krisos that talks about the following: that even though drinking a cup of fish blood is permitted, somebody looks on may think that it's a cup of regular blood from a behema, which is aser, like from a cow, and that's aser midoraisa. So in order to prevent people from making such a mistake, that there's a gezerah not to make such a mistake, there is a gezerah not to drink a cup of fish blood unless fish scales are placed near the cup, or some would say inside the cup itself. So in our case, one must, we'll see the Ramah is going to say in Sif Gimel that we're going to have to place almonds next to almond milk and meat. So that's how we're going to relate the whole topic of Maris Ayin, which both plays a role in the Ramah Sif Gimel and the Mechaber Ramah in Sif Dalid as well. So let's read the Ramah in Sif Gimel. So Sif Gimel had talked about the distinction between cooking basar v'chalav with meat, kosher meat, non-kosher meat, and with basar oaf as well, which was chicken or fowl. So Haggah says the Ramah, "V'nogu lasos chalav mishkedim." There's a custom to make milk out of almond. Now we all know almond milk now is very popular. Manichem basar oaf, and they put the meat of chicken in it. In fact, it's brought down that it was a minig like on Purim to have such a thing like v'nafochu, you have something changed, something different. But even outside of Purim, it would be mutter. It's par of milk because it's almond milk, and they put the basar of the oaf in it. Whole veinu in the it's only a din d'rabbanan. Avol basar behema, but if you would do that with a regular kosher cow's meat, it still would be mutter because it's par of milk. Right? Says the Ramah, you should put shkedim next to it. Because people shouldn't think it's regular milk. And if you had almonds next to it, people would say, oh, that must be almond milk. I guess the halacha would be the same by coconut milk, right? People also use coconut milk now. As the Ramah mentions that in Simin Samach Vav, as relates to eating dam, the issur of eating dam, as I mentioned before to you, that if there's scales there would not be a problem. I just want to mention a story that happened to me 25 years ago. I was running the ORB here, local kashrus. It was very small in those days. And I got a frantic call from a delivery guy from the kosher meat delivery company that was in North Miami Beach, delivering to Sunrise Kosher, was called, on Sunrise Boulevard in Broward County. And he said he went in the back to deliver the meat, and he sees a cup of coffee on the meat counter, the metal meat counter that they were prepping, they used to prep meat on, and there were droplets of milk on the tabletop as well. So he called me frantic. So I called the owner and the mashgiach, and I told them to just stop everything they're doing and wait till I show up. And I showed up, and they explained to me that it was almond milk, and it was not real milk. And I ascertained that there was no open bottles of regular milk. Now, the store was a grocery, a deli, was a kosher grocery. They had sold milk in the store, but there was an open bottle of almond milk. So it was parv. There, or non-dairy creamer, maybe, whatever it was. It was non-dairy creamer. There was an open one like that. There were no open bottles of milk in the back at all. Or in the garbage. I checked the garbage inside and the garbage outside as well. So we asked, and the workers told me that that's what they use. They use the coffee rich, whatever it is. The guy walked in from the other place as a delivery guy, and he thought it was regular milk. And this proves exactly the case, where in a meat store, in a butcher meat store, of course, a person should be very careful about the Maris Ayin. So that is the Ramah in Sif Gimel. Let's go to Sif Dalid. The Mechaber says like this: Asur levashel b'chalav isha. Milk from a woman, you're prohibited to cook in that. B'nei Maris Ayin, of the Maris Ayin. So I noticed somewhere the Chaguras Shmuel, which is a note in the Mareches HaShulchan. I'm using the Mareches HaShulchan, right? The note Yud Aleph there says, "V'miniach eitzel chalav isha shkedim nami mutter." If you put shkedim next to the pot that's cooking woman's milk and breast milk with meat, it would be mutter because it would be maras ayin. The oznami leka mishum maras ayin. So okay. If you ever want to look at the halachas of chalav isha and about drinking it, it's explained in Siman Pei Aleph Sif Zayin. There it says it's mutter to drink it as long as it is already been extracted into a kli or on one's hand, etc., but not directly, etc. Okay, that is the name of the Chaguras Shmuel. So says the Mechaber again, Asal lavashu b'chalav isha v'bnei marasayin v'mnafal l'toch tavshil. What happens? You're not cooking it together, but you have milk from a woman's milk, breast milk, spills into a tavshil. It's batel, right? What does that mean? Vein tzarich shiur. You don't need shishim keneged. So the notes here says kasav alavush shahainu be'inyan shelo yehi nira maras achelav. It falls in where you can't tell that there's any milk in it, so there's no marasayin, right? Because if you can see milk in it, that's marasayin. They'll say, wow, you have meat, regular cow's meat with milk. But if it falls in and gets mixed together by accident, you don't need shishim keneged. It's considered batel, okay? Because it's not aser. Officially, it's not aser. Okay, so when the Mechaber says that it's aser to cook it together, it's because of marasayin, not because there's any iser to have them together. The Rabbi Kiva Chedusha Rekever says that if this milk, based on the Mechaber, if milk falls into a pot of woman's milk, falls into a pot of meat, vim irev b'mezid b'tavshel, and you went ahead and just mixed it together so nobody should see it, right? Asur lo, it's prohibited for him who did the mixing, umishanasakain bishvilo, or someone who you did it for, like your family member, because that's like you're being mevatel something lechatchila, even though bittul iser lechatchila is the halacha, and there's no iser here, but we say there's marasayin, and therefore you shouldn't be allowed to do it lechatchila. If it ever happens, ask your rabbi what you should do. All right, that is now the Ramah Hagah, the Nira Li Lefiza, and based on this, it seems to me the Kol Shekain for sure the Asur Lavashi Lechatchila B'Chalev Tameya. You can't cook meat with milk of a tameya, or Basar Tamei B'Chalev Tahar. Right, even though we said in Halacha Gimel, what do we say? That they weren't Asur, they're Mutter B'Bishol Uvehana. Right, but here he says you shouldn't be allowed to do it. Excuse me. Why? Because of marasayin. V'dafke basar behema avol ba'of derabanan ein lachash. But it shouldn't be a problem to cook oaf because it's only an iser derabanan. It seems to be that he makes a distinction between basar oaf and other basar behema. Let's say chalav tameya, or basar tehema b'chalav tahar. He seems to make a distinction between that and oaf in terms of cooking with cooking them together with this type of milk. Okay, let's look at that's the Ramah. Let's discuss this concept of Dorais and Dorabana. Says just want to quote you, the Gemara in Krisis says again, fish blood in a cup is also drink unless there are fish scales next to it. To drink blood of a regular animal, not fish, is also midoraisa, but not for the blood of the fish. The reason is that people will not come to think that it's mutter to drink dam basar, or regular meat, and of course, as we said before, that was maris ayin. I also want to mention that when the Ramah says in Sif Dalet that there's a kol shekain, right? The kol shekain was like, what did the Ramah say? That kol shekain you should be allowed to cook the meat lechatchila with chalav tameya, or cook basar tameya with chalav tar. The Yad Yehuda, one of the commentaries explains, says that the kol shekain is that it's more common to cook with chalav tameya. That's why it's a kol shekain. Okay, very good. So now the discussion of Doraisa and Dorabanan. We're gonna read and learn this outside before we see it inside in the Taz and the Shach. The distinction between Doraisa and Dorabanan and whether Maras Ayin applies to them or not. There's a sefer called Toras Chatas. So Toras Chatas is written by the Ramah before he wrote his commentary on the Shulchan Aruch, known as the Mappa or the Hagah or the Ramah as we know it. But the Toras Chatas wrote the following. There are those, he quotes the Rashal, who learned from this Gemara in Krisis that we mentioned about fish blood and scales, that even when eating chicken and almond milk together, one should place almonds next to the milk. Right? So the Toras Chatas says that you can't compare the case of chicken to milk and blood. Right? By the fish blood, you need the scales. Otherwise, we may come to go ahead and do an Isser Doraisa because we're drinking blood, that's fish blood, but people might think it is blood of meat, which is an Isser Doraisa. You're not allowed to drink that blood. So it's one step. You might come, if you don't put scales in the cup of fish blood, people might think you're allowed to drink blood in general, and therefore they might be nichshal in a Doraisa. But since chicken and milk is Aser midrabanan, so we're not concerned with Maras Ayin. Okay? That's what the Toras Chatas said, and that's reflected in the Ramah here as well. The Ramah says, Kol Shekain, you should be allowed to do this cooking. There's no Maras Ayin as relates to things that are only midrabanan, as he talks about Cholav Tameya, or Behema Tameya, or Of, which are all Durabanans. Okay, that is the Toras Chatas and Shitas Ramah. The Taz in Sifkat Dal holds that if one has almonds, you should place them next to the milk lechatchila when you're cooking milk with basar oaf, because wherever it's possible to make some taikatikun, you should be masakin. So even when you're cooking oaf, even if you're cooking basar tameya, which is only asim d'rabbanan to cook with milk, right? I'm sorry, it's only asr, right, to cook with milk, right? So it's only asr d'rabbanan to eat. No, it's asr. Which is mutter, I'm sorry, the bishul of ana, right? It's also eat because, but it's not butz of a chalav, right? So, or you have oaf, you have chicken that you're cooking with almond milk, right? Put the almonds next to it, even though the Ramah says we don't have to really worry about it, and therefore you don't have to put the almonds next to it. Put the almonds next to it, because there's a rule, whatever you could be misakein to not make, so people won't make a mistake, you should. However, if there are no almonds, then the Taz also says it's permissible to eat chicken with almond milk, and even meat with almond milk. Okay. So the Shach holds like the Rashal. The Rashal, we know, was just quoted by the Toras Chatas, right? That one needs almonds next to the milk. So the Shach holds like the Rashal and says that we see many instances that we worry about Maris Ayin Midarabana. So according to this, one can't eat chicken with almond milk unless he puts almonds near the milk. One place that the Shach quotes, as we'll see, is when a person on Shabbos, right? He's not allowed to go out with his chamor. The Gemara in Daf Nun Dalid and in Samach Dalid in Shabbos, Samach Dalid in Shabbos, say the following, that you're not allowed to go out on Shabbos with your chamor that has bells hanging from the neck, even if the bells have been stopped up where there's no ringing, so there's no isser. Why? Because it's Maras Ayin, but people think the reason when do they used to put the bells on the animal's neck? When they would go out to market day, or so I guess to to celebrate, to go to market, to sell the animal, or to do things in the market, or maybe to attract attention. That's what the bells were for. So if you go outside on Shabbos, if you allow the chamor to walk outside on Shabbos with the bells on, people will think, oh, maybe he's taking the chamor to market to go schlep bring back or sell the chamor, etc. Therefore, we see which that is only an Isser D'Rabbanan. What does it mean? The Isser D'Rabbanan of selling, buying and selling. Mekach Shabbos, it's only also D'Rabbanan. So we're worried about Maris Ayin for the chamor having the bells on that don't work. So there's no ringing on Shabbos. There's no Isser of ringing, of making music on Shabbos. You're not performing an Isser Rabbanan, but there's Maris Ayin. People might think you're going to sell the animal or go do business on Shabbos, which it itself is only an Isser Rabbanan. So the Shach paskins that you, like the Marshal, the Rashal, not the Marshal, the Rashal, that you should, like the Marshal, it's the Marshal, Yamshel Shlomo, etc. Shlomo Kluger there says that you should go ahead and put shkedim next to it. I'd like to read the Ramah and the Shach inside, the Taz and the Shach inside, and I'm going to use the Mareches HaShulchan because it's shorter and more succinct. I'll send you a copy in a little bit. Let's first do the Taz. The Taz on Sif Gimel of the Ramah's ideas of shkedim and oaf, basar oaf. And he, at the end of that Ramah, he quotes the Shulchan Aruch in Simin Samach Vav. K'moshen is bor le'el Simin Samach Vav gabi dam. Says the Taz, Mikol makom nira sheyesh le'oniach lechatchila shkedim gametzel basar oaf b'cholav shel shkedim. Even when you're cooking basar oaf, which is only osmid rabbanon, lechatchila, says the Taz, you should put shkedim next to it, so people shouldn't think, oh, you're using real milk. Bishum maris ayin. Alul b'diavad she'ein lo shkedim. If you don't have, ein leser achila b'shvil zeh. You don't have to aser the eating of this. Wherever it's possible to make a fix where people won't get the wrong idea. And if you don't have a way to do it, if you don't have a bottle of the shkedim or the bottle of almond milk to put next to it, you can still do it. V'od lo gora mecholav isha b'sif daled. This is no worse than the cholav isha that we said in Sif Dalet, shechosh l'maris ayin, where we are, meaning my conclusion here, that you should be worried a little bit about this maris ayin. It is no worse than what we said in halacha in halacha Dalet by Sif Dalet by cholav isha. Huadin basar oaf b'cholav shkedim. So too cholav oaf with almond milk. Yesh lachash lechatchila l'maris ayin. You should be also choshesh for maris ayin. Right? The Machaber says in Sif Dalet, also levashu b'cholav isha mimnei maris ayin. Cholav isha is totally it's mutter to use, but it's, and there's no even Issur D'Rabbanan there, I think, right? There's no Issur D'Rabbanan at all there, right? Etc. Okay. Even though me'ikar hadin, the Ramah wrote in the Sefer Torah's Chatas that I quoted you before, we don't have a chashash of marasayin b'basar oaf b'cholov shehu d'Rabbanan, since it's a Rabbanan, we're not choshesh for using almond milk marasayin by oaf b'cholov. I'm sorry, even oaf in regular cholov. I apologize. Oaf b'cholav shehu d'Rabbanan, right? Va'afilu b'basar, again, even though the Torah's Chata says there's no chashash of maris ayin by basar oaf b'cholav shehu midrabbanan, since it's only Issur D'Rabbanan, we're not going to extend that. It's an Issur D'Rabbanan to cook regular milk with oaf. So we're not going to say that there's a maris ayin where someone might think you're using milk and basar oaf. That's only Issur D'Rabbanan when you use good milk like almond milk. We're not going to worry about that, maris ayin. Afilu basar behema and Issur kim derech bishul dafka. And by basar behema, the whole Issur of milk and meat is only when you cook it together. So we see there's some leniency as related to that. Mikol makom lechatchila nirali, says the Taz, sheyesh lochash lazeh gam b'basar oaf, and therefore we should also be worried about it. Let's look at the Shach. The Shach is Sif Katan Vav, also on the Ramah in Sif Gimel. Nogu lasos cholav mishkedim, says the Shach. Das Ramah kan uv'sifro Torah's Chatas dein tzarach laniach shkedim eitzel cholav v'nei maris ayin. He quotes the Ramah here and the Torah's Chatas. You don't have to put any shkedim. We're not worried about maris ayin. Ela b'midi doraisa, except for when there's a situation that you might come to do a doraisa, could go basar behema, like basar behema. Kadesh lo yachshav aroa shu cholav mamish. So people shouldn't think it's cholav mamish and be matir cooking and eating cholav with meat, which is a doraisa. V'hainu dafka bebishul shem lokain. This specifically is by bishul. Shem lokain hafilu bebasar behema ein iser me'atorah. Basar behema has no iser me'atorah to be mixed with milk without cooking. Vein tzarach laniach etzel shkedim. You wouldn't have to put shkedim next to it. The lo asra Torah ela derech bishul. The whole iser doraisa is derech bishul, like the Gemara Chulin taught us. Avol midi d'Rabbanan, on something that's only asim derabanan, kagom basar of, ein lachash lamaris ayin vein tzarich leniach etzlo shkedim. That's the Ramah and the Teretz Chatas. However, ulam hamarshal in Chulin Siman Nun Beis, that's in the Marshal Sefer, it's called the Yam Shel Shlomo. Kosav, he wrote, even rabbinic things you should be worried about marasayin. And all the poskim agree to that. Nearly ikr, and that's what the Shach says. I would follow the Marshal's opinion. You should not permit someone to eat basar oaf that's been cooked with almonds, unless you put shkedim near them. And on the note on the bottom here, Os Yud, says the Mareches HaSholchan. I think it's Rabbi Rappaport, I believe, as I said. Just make sure. Rabbi Pinchas Simcha Kornfeld says the following: Ayin Pri Chadash Tivkat and Zayin. The Pri Chadash, one of the commentaries on the Shulchan Aruch. The Iker Kedas Ramah. The Ba'of Ein Tzarech La Niach Shkedim. V'chein Kasav HaKreisi Uplesi Ledina. However, the Pri Toar knocks off the Pri Chadash and says, like the Shach Lahachmir. We'll talk about Lamaisa, what we need to do. That is the Shach and Taz on the Ramah in Sif Gimel. Excuse me. Let's talk about the next little idea in this idea of Marasayin. A sefer called Nachlas Tzvi, which explains the Ramah that there is Maris Ayin even by Isurei Durabanan. Okay, he wants to say, right? The Shach seems to be asking on the Ramah, right? That the Ramah says it seems to be from the Ramah that there's no Isur of Maris Ayin on a Durabanan, like oaf. Oaf with almond milk seems to be, I'm not worried, it's only Asa Durabanan. Milk, regular milk and regular milk and oaf are only Asa Durabanan. Therefore, kosher milk like almond milk with oaf, I shouldn't be worried about Marasayin, it's only Durabanan. But we see other places, like I gave you the case, the Gemara in Shabbos with the Chamor. We're worried about Marasayin. If you go out with the bells, even though the bells are stopped up, people might think, hey, you're taking the animal to go to the marketplace and do business on Shabbos. Business on Shabbos is only Asur Rabbanan. The Gemara in Shabbos, I think it's Daf Yomi today, and I'm not holding my Daf Yomi, I think it's Samadal. It says that's also Mishra Marasayin. So Marasayin does apply to Durabbanans. It's a Beferish Gemara. So what's the Ramah going to do? So the Nachlas Tzvi explains the Ramah the following, that he does hold of Marasayin Midrabbanan. So why does the Ramah only require you to make a heker by meat and not by chicken, right? So he says like this. The Ramah discusses a case where the person cooks the chicken and the almond milk in private. The Gemara in Shabbos, right, the concept of Marasayin applies. The Gemara in Shabbos explains. Let me just read to you. Gemara Shabbos says the following on Samach Dalar and Beis. Amar Rabbi Yehuda Amar Rav. This is the Nachlas Tzvi quoting this Gemara. Kol Malkam Shasru Chachamim Imnei Maris Ayin. This is towards the bottom of Samach Dalad Amud Beis. Wherever Chachamim made a gezerah, because they're worried about Maris Ayin, right? And therefore the person who did it, the article says the perpetrator will be suspected of illegal activity. So for example, one may not don, right, a battle helmet or iron leggings, because they give the appearance of one is preparing to engage in battle, which is forbidden on Shabbos. Likewise, one may not rope camels together and lead them on Shabbos, for fear they'll be suspected of taking them to marketplace. Same thing with the Chamor. So where did we say, Kol Mokom she'asru chachamim ne'mar sayin, afilu b'chadri chadorim also. The act is prohibited even in one's most private chambers. So you have to know this halacha, right? Marasayin outside, well, what can I do it inside? No, it's still also, the Gemara says. So on Shabbos, one may not put on this battle dress or rope beasts together, even in a private place where none will see. And the reason is because for this gezerah, it extends to even places where no one will see, is that the Chacham were afraid that if they allowed this activity in private place, one might mistakenly come to believe that it is permissible in a public place as well. Alternatively, they knew that there can occasionally be an onlooker, even the most private of places. Okay, so says the Nachlas Tzvi. So the Ramah discusses a case where a person cooks the chicken and the meat and the almond milk in private. But what about the Gemara that says like we just read, that wherever you're not allowed to do, wherever there's a gzeira of Maris Ayin, that it even applies b'chadrei chadorim, in private places, right? That only refers to acts that could be misconstrued that he's doing an Isser Doraisa. So the chiluk of Doraisa and Dorabonon is in chadrei chadorim type of situations. Even though his act is completely permitted, nevertheless, it could appear that he's violating a Torah law. However, there's no Maris Ayin by Nisuri Dorabonon if he does the act in private. The Gemara about battle dress and all that, okay, that is, I wonder if that's an Isser, might come to war on Shabbos. I wonder if that's an Isser Doraisa, but for sure, the case of the Chamor going out to going out to the marketplace, dressing up the Chamor in the bells, right? That's only an Isser D'Rabbanan. It should be Aser. It should be completely. Why is it Aser? It's Aser. That again. We'll work this out. This is why the Ramah doesn't require a hecker by chicken, but requires a hecker by meat. Since chicken is only an Aser Midrabanan, then there is no Maris Ayin if done in private. Meat, which is an Isser Doraisa if you have real milk, and therefore requires a hecker even in private. Okay, that's why you need to put shkedim next to it, according to the Ramah, by meat with almond milk, but not by basar oaf. Right? The members of the household do not make it into a public setting because presumably they know that it's almond milk. The Pri Megadim writes similarly that at meals that have a lot of people, it's proper to put a hecker because these people may not see what you're doing in the kitchen. Right? I guess if you have a big family, even they might also be considered, or just let people know. So we see that he holds that no hecker is needed in private since it's Maris Ayin of a Dirabbanan. Okay, the case of the Chamor in the Gemara in Shabbos. Why can't you put the bells on? Because that's not in private. I guess in the barn, I guess you can put the bells on, but not, or the bells that are not working on, but not outside in public. Okay, so the Nachlat Tzvi explains that the Ramah would hold that there's a distinction the distinction of the Rais and the Rabbanan is only when it is done bechadrei chadorim, but in public. You would be concerned about even an Issa D'Rabbanan, you would want to make a heker, and you're worried about Maris Ayin. So again, Torah Chatas and the Ramah, same person, right, who say that there's no need to worry about Maris Ayin in an Issa D'Rabbanan, right, would say that, says Nachlat Tzvi, only in situations that are private, but not in the public. The Gemara about the Chamor is a public situation. That's everyone says you can't do it because of Maris Ayin. But the Ramah says, by us, we're talking about cooking in private, oaf basar with shkedim, and that would be mutter, without any hecker. All right, let's talk about cholav isha. All right? The Rambam, I didn't tell you look it up, but if you want, it's the Rambam in Hilchos Ma'acholos Hasuros, Perik Beis, Halacha Gimel, 2, number 3. The Rambam says that eating basar Adam does not transgress the law of eating non-kosher meat. God forbid if somebody ate a piece of human flesh. Okay, no, it's probably pretty wild, right? Okay, so there's no lav in the Torah. There's a lav in the Torah to eat basar tamei, right? To eat camel meat is a lav in the Torah. Lo so, you can't eat it, right? Lo so kol behemoth tamei, right? What about eating a piece of meat from a human flesh, right? There's no lav in the Torah. However, there's a positive commandment to abstain from eating it, as it says, as elu tochlu, the Torah says in Vayikra, Perek Yud Aleph, Pasuk Beis, as elu tochlu, these are the animals you shall eat, alluding that you may only eat these animals, which doesn't include human flesh. There are things that are asur, there are lavim in the Torah. The Torah says, do not eat these behemoth tamei, right? But it does go ahead and say there's a positive commandment to eat these only, which would exclude human flesh. Therefore, human flesh is asur. Yet human milk is permitted, as we see in Perek Gimel of Halacha Beis of the Rambam, and human blood is from Mutter Min HaTorah, as we see in Perek Vav Halacha Beis in the Rambam. Okay, Midrabanan, it's aser. That's all. That's midrabanan minat Torah, right? Midrabanan, it's aser because of maris ayin. That's a Gemara in Yerodea. Fine. So we're saying here that human milk is permitted completely under certain circumstances, meaning if it had already been extracted from the mother's breast in a kli, it would be mutter completely. Human blood is mutter rabbanan, mutter midoraisa, aser rabbanan, but mutter raisa. The question is, if human flesh is aser, then how can human milk and blood be mutter? Isn't there a law that says whatever comes from something tameh is also tameh? Why is milk from a camel aser? Right? Because the camel is an animal that's aser. So if human flesh is aser, so milk that comes from humans should also be aser as well, and blood also should be comes from the human being, etc. Right? So this is the kasha of the Magen Mishnah on the Rambam, and he's going to give this is his answer. That there's an additional isser here. That's of whatever comes from something tameh is also tameh. It only applies to those that are aser from a lav, a negative commandment, but not those that are aser from a positive commandment. Which means we say, when something is aser, anything that comes from it is aser. The camel is aser, and therefore the milk of a camel is aser as well. That's only something where there's a lav of the isser is an isser from a lav, from a negative commandment. But human flesh is only aser, not from a lav. It doesn't say you shouldn't eat human flesh, but only based on a diuk, an inference from a mitzvah, a positive commandment of ezed tochlu. These are the animals you should eat. So we limit the isser to only flesh itself. We do not extend that isser of human flesh to what comes out of it. So therefore, human blood, somebody is bleeding and he sucks on the blood, it's not aser, and mother's milk would also be mutter as well. Again, the Rambam is in Hilchos Macholos Asuros 2:3, Perek Beis Halacha Gimel, and the Magen Mishnah is there as well. Okay, what about Cholav Tmeya? There's the source of this halacha is the Rashba. The Darchei Moshe, another sefer written by the Ramah, which is a commentary in the Beis Yosef, and you find the Darchei Moshe printed in the Tur. The Tur is in the middle. The Tur sefer is in the middle. You have the Beit Yosef and the Bach, and then on the bottom you have a little something. The Darchei Moshe is very short. Darchei Moshe says that the Rashba contradicts himself. On the one hand, the Rashba permits cooking meat and cholav tameya and deriving pleasure from it, apparently without any problem of maris ayin. On the other hand, he forbids cooking meat with human milk because of maris ayin. Halacha Daled says, that's the Rashba. If you look at the Be'er Agola in the Shulchan Aruch, you'll see it quotes the Rashba, that the Mechaber says that Vim asel levashel b'cholav isham and maris ayin, and that's the source of that is the Rashba, right? So why is cooking human milk according to the Rashba permissible, and human milk and meat any worse than cholav, tameya, and meat? So the Taz and the Shach have 4 answers, and I'm going to tell you what those answers are now, and maybe we'll read it inside the Shach and Taz when we do our Shiur on Monday. Okay? So the Taz says like this. We only have to make a gezerah, right, to be a shomer for something of maris ayin by food that's kosher to eat, right? The meat is kosher meat, and the breast milk is kosher milk. And you only have to make that gezerah there. This is because it's similar to basar v'cholav, that each individual ingredient is kosher, right? So therefore, the gezerah of not cooking basar v'cholav together, right? The isser of cooking basar v'cholav together, Minotaur tells you things that are in those categories of that which is mutter, mother's milk, and regular meat, a regular kosher milk, would be mutter, right? So it's the similarity to basar v'cholav. Both are start, even though basar v'cholav is also midoraisa in general. But we see that it starts out, the whole problem is a problem. Cooking milk type of things with meat is a problem with 2 things that are both mutter. However, when cooking non-kosher food, even though it may look like one's cooks basar v'cholav, there is no gzeira of maris ayin since they're inherently different. Okay, you have to understand the svar of the Taz, but the Taz makes a distinction. The Rajba doesn't contradict himself. The Rajba says you're not allowed to cook mother's milk with meat, even though the mother's milk is kosher and it's not milichic because of Maris Ayin, because it's two distinct permitted things, which are like basar v'chalav, the original basar v'chalav basar d'oraisa, we're making a Maris Ayin gezerah. But when the meat or the chalav is tamei, if it's kosher meat and tamei milk, or kosher milk and tamei meat, there the Rajba says you don't have to worry about it because they're inherently different. Okay, why the svaras and all that? I'm sure there's a Pri Megadim explains why it is. The Shach has three answers to this contradiction between the Rajba. And the reason we're learning this, why do we care? Because the Rajba is quoted by the Machaber. We want to understand the Rajba and understand the chilukim between these situations. So when the Rajba says that cholav tamei is mutter to be cooked with mother's milk, he tells us what is me'ikar hadin. Me'ikar in the basic law. However, there would be an isser of maris ayin, even in the case of basar tamei or cholav tamei. Meaning this maris ayin. I'm sorry. When the Rajba says it's mutter to cook milk in basar tamei, right? That, right? And we saw that also in halacha gimel in the mechaber. That is me'ikar hadin. But there still would be a maris ayin type of scenario. And the reason he has to tell us the mikar din is because there are cases that we don't worry about maris ayin, like in the case of an illness, right? Mikar din, you're allowed to go ahead and cook basar behema tameya with milk, with regular milk, okay? Isn't there shouldn't there be maris ayin like with the cholav of an isha? Says the Shach, yes, in Achanami there is maris ayin. But the Rajba is only telling us the halacha of basar tameya with kosher milk. It's mutter because under certain circumstances you should be allowed to do it, and maris ayin wouldn't play a role. Like in case the person who was there's somebody who's sick and you have to cook for somebody who's sick, it's mutter. However, the Shach rules this out because of the simple reading of the poskim that there is not even maris ayin by tamei. Okay, he wanted to apply this idea to the Rajba, but he says it wouldn't work out with the way the word the poskim go ahead. Now I'm going to tell you answer 2 and 3, and the Shach himself likes answer 2 the most. The second answer is that there's a difference between bishul and achila. There is no reason to make a gezerah on cooking because there are many reasons why someone may cook cholav tameya with basar tar or vice versa, like for a sick person. But by achila, you can see if the person is sick or not, right? So there's no gezerah on cooking. That's pshat. The pshat is that the Rajba says there's no gezerah on cooking because there might be a reason. You're not worried that he's going to go ahead and that he's cooking basar v'cholav. People will think, oh, maybe he's cooking it for a sick person, somebody who is deathly ill and needs this type of food. You can transgress that isser. So we're not going to say because of maris ayin, people might think you're cooking basar v'cholav together, which is asur midoraisa. Even though it's basar tameya, people have what to rely on, right? But by achila, you could tell the guy who's sitting down, who's eating it, right? Is he sick or he's not sick? Therefore, if someone is not sick, there's a gezerah of maris ayin. So when the Rajba and the Mechaber say it's asur to cook, they really mean that it's asur to eat. Okay? You might find that a little bit challenging. Why didn't they just say the actual words achila? The third answer the Shach gives is that it's easily discernible when one cooks basar tameya or cholav tameya because they look different than their kosher counterpart. So we do not need to make a gezerah when you're cooking tamei. However, we do need to make a gezerah in the case of chalavisha, since the difference between chalavisha and regular milk is not noticeable. So I guess what the Shach is saying is that the color of the milk of basar of milk from an animal, from a tameya, is different than the color of cow's milk. And I'm wondering whether that is oisgehalten in terms of nowadays biologically. We'll get back to the Rajba, that Taz and Shach in our Shiur on Monday. So what about the halacha? So the Taz holds that there's no maris ayin or basar v'cholav by non-kosher food. Therefore, there's no reason to asur cooking basar tameya and cholav tar, since nobody will mix it up with basar b'cholav. Accordingly, he disagrees with Ramah However, the Taz bows to the opinion of the Rama that it is Asr. The Shach holds by his second reason, right? Therefore, he argues with the Ramah. He holds that we permit cooking basar tameya and cholov tahar lechatchila. Again, basar tameya and cholov tahar lechatchila, because there's no maras ayin. Furthermore, he permits even cooking chicken and almond milk lechatchila. There's no maras ayin by cooking, he says, and therefore you don't need to place almonds by the pot, even by meat, right? But you would, maybe at the table, you'd have to put the almonds. The Ber Heitev takes a different approach. Ber Heitev is in Sifkat and Zayin, here on the Shulchan Aruch. I didn't put it as one of the Marmakomos. You could look at it if you want. He says that all these cases are dealing with cooking. And the Gzeir of Maris Ayin applies in a case where only one mistaken assumption will lead to suspecting him to be transgressing. Meaning, there can't be a two-step mistake. Somebody might see you do something, and mistakenly they're going to do something which would be asr. However, in a case where a person needs to make two false assumptions in order to suspect transgressing, there's no need to make a gezerah because of maras ayin. In other words, it's easy to make one mistake, says the Ber Heitev, but it's unlikely that a person will make two mistakes. So he says like this: since there's no isser, let's explain. Since there's no isser to cook chicken and milk, therefore the only maras ayin for cooking is that it looks like you're cooking meat and milk. Therefore, there is a gezerah of maras ayin not to cook basar tameya and chalav tahara, because someone will make a mistake about basar tameya and come to cook basar tar, the basar with chalav tar. Meaning, if somebody sees you cooking chicken with almond milk, there's nothing to worry about, because what's he going to do? He's going to go ahead and then cook chicken with regular milk. All right, that's not also midoraisa, right? Maras ayin is to prevent you from doing an issa doraisa, right? So therefore, that's not a problem to cook the almond milk with the chicken. But there is a gezerah of maras ayin to cook basar tameya or chalav tar, right? The beginning of sif dalit. Asr levashel b'chalav isha v'nei maras ayin. Why? Because you look at chalav, you don't know that it's chalav isha. You see him in cooking meat and milk together. You might come to think that, it's okay to cook regular milk and regular meat together. You don't know the difference. So again, because someone will make a mistake about the basar tameya and come to cook basar tar and chalav tar, which is an isser doraisa. But there's no gzeir of maras ayin by cooking chicken and almond milk, because it's unlikely that people will make two mistakes, that the chicken is really meat and that almond milk is cow's milk. However, maras ayin by eating, in all cases, since it's a one step away from an issa d'Rabbanan, you would not be allowed to eat it without a heker and therefore have the shkedim there. Let me take another 3 minutes and conclude. The Shach, the Taz in Sifkat and Hay, again, we'll do that on Monday. The Taz in Sifkat and Hay says that cooking chicken and milk is asr because of maras ayin, even though it's only asr midrabanan, right? Even though the Ramah at the end of this halacha holds that it's mutter lechatchila to cook chicken and chalav tameya, but with kosher milk it is asr. That is the Pri Megadim says. The Taz states 3 reasons for being careful again. Maras ayin with chicken and milk. Okay? Even though it's asr midrabanan. All right, there is a svara. The eating is only asr midrabanan, right? Okay. There is a svara to be stricter in the case of chicken than by non-kosher animals, because there's a Tana that holds chicken and milk is asr midoraisa. Sometimes chicken looks like, number 2, sometimes chicken looks like meat, so it's easy for people to make a mistake, basar tameya, basar behema. People should not think that the halacha 3, people should not think that the halacha is like Rav Yossi Aglili, who says that chicken and milk is mutter to eat even midrabanan. And then the Taz concludes from the fact that the Ramah says that it's asr lechatchila. We see that in the case of chola she'ein bo sakana, a person with a non-life-threatening sickness, you may cook meat with chalav mesa, milk that was extracted from an animal that was shechted, milk from tameh or tameh meat, milk with tameh meat, and vice versa. Let me say that again. So the task is from the fact that the Ramah says that it's also lechatchila, right? We see that in the case of a chole she'ein bo sakana, I mean you can't do whatever you want for him, right? You may cook meat with chalav mesa, meaning you took the milk out of an animal that was shechted properly, milk with tamei meat, or vice versa, tamei milk with kosher meat. The same din would apply to cooking chicken with milk. Okay. Halach l'maisa, there's an isser of maris ayin to cook basar tameya with chalav tahar, or vice versa, or to cook chicken with milk. Okay, because of maris ayin. In the case of chicken with almond milk, in private there is no maris ayin. In public, you should place almonds next to the plate. There's no maris ayin by cooking chicken and chalav tameya. Okay. Mitzvah Shem will review this and go in and read some of the Shach and Taz inside. I will send you some review questions before Monday as well. Looking forward to our learning. Be well.